6. Today is Sunday, July 28th, 2024 at 8 p.m. The guidelines for the program is number one, all of you who are on the line, please stay muted during this fireside chat session. Also, please turn off your video. The host and the host will request all the participants. I will ask you to open your line in the second half to take a picture, a screenshot. Otherwise, please turn off your video and turn off your audio as well. The entire session is recorded and the recording will be available in our YouTube channel, CEG Connect. We have recording of all the past 35 sessions in YouTube to watch anytime. It's free of cost. If you have any questions during the program, either for the guest or the host, you can use the Slido program, which I'll explain in a second. There will be periodic live polls in Slido where we want to ask participants to give the feedback on how the session is going and other questions. Please participate. And in the second half of the program, during the question and answer, when somebody puts a question, you can also put your questions in Slido while the session is going on. We will look at the questions, and when the Q&A session starts, I'll call the person's name and you can ask the question after opening your audio and video. So today's session guest speaker is Mr. Andi Giri. Andy is CEG 1986 alumni from ECE department. He is the CEO of Softsquare, a Salesforce solution services and custom app exchange company based in Chennai, with offices in the US and Canada, etc. I'll be the host. Jaitesh is the co-host, but he's not joined yet today, and Partha is our tech support. So today's program, for you to use to ask questions and also to participate in the polls, use Slido. The way you do it is you go to any device you have, laptop, desktop, mobile, tablet, etc. Go to any browser and type slido.com in the browser entry. Once you get the Slido screen open, you type in the code 2069278. 2069278. Partha will be putting this code in the Google chat box periodically for those who join later to join Slido. Once you put this code in the Slido screen, then you will get a screen like this, which will show you two tabs, the Q&A tab and the polls tab. The Q&A tab is where you can ask your questions, either for the host or the guest. And the polls tab is where we will be publishing polls. Currently, there is one poll available, which you can respond to. So with that, Andy, I'm going to close this session and close my sharing. And we'll hand it over to you. So, Andy, as I told you that you have about 20 minutes, 20 to 22 minutes for you to talk about your journey, whichever way you want. If you can please finish by 8:30. Then we can go on to the Q&A after that. 8:30, 8:35, maybe a few minutes here and there, no problem. But over to you. Thank you so much for joining.
Okay, pleasure, Vish, and I really appreciate your effort, as well as it's an honor for me to speak to CEG colleagues. I don't see any of my classmates, but I do see Chandra Mohan, who is a good friend of mine for a long time, and a few others.
Hey, Andy.
Vanakkam. Okay. I'll follow up after.
Vanakkam. Hey, Vish.
Hi, Vish. Hi,
Sure.
Hi, Chandramon. How are you? Go ahead, Andy.
All right.
Hey, I'm good. Yeah, good.
Okay. Anyway, it is very proud to wear this T-shirt. I got it about 4 years back, and I finally got an opportunity to wear it.
Excellent. I love it. Excellent.
So, college, I've been a couple of times, or at least twice a year, I'll go to campus for something or the other, but I never got to wear it. So,
very nice.
That gave me the best opportunity.
Excellent.
So, I was born, I think probably someone doesn't know English, Tamil, so I'll speak in English. I was brought up in Kanyakumari district, Nanjal Nadu to be specific. My father was a Tamil professor. My mother was a history teacher, history/English. So I was born in a little bit of a privileged family. I was a second generation educated guy. I went to a school called Carmel Melai Palli. Carmel, Kalpand Carmel again, there was a saying at that period. Right? So Carmel was known as most, I think, the strength of southern districts was due to missionaries, particularly Christian missionaries who did a bunch of work in the last couple of 100 or 300 years. So anyway, I was part of that. I got the benefit of that education, basic education. And then in school days, I was mostly very ultimate introvert. And even after school, when I landed in college, I was an introvert. I was a bit lost in the first year, It was a struggle initially because we were in hostel. There were a bunch of top 25 people who landed from Don Bosco, including J.S. Anand Kumar, who's a famous guy. Most of us would know. He sings a lot, and he runs a company called Bugworks. So there were some really top achievers in my class, right? So you're an achiever from a district which is the farthest away from Chennai, and you come here and you get a culture shock. Oh my God! I thought I'm the king of the district. Now the best students in your class, and look at the fundas, the multi-stable, monostable, multi-vibrator, all these new things that these guys are talking about in college. And I was lost for probably a couple of years until I realized, oh my God, then I have to get my studies going, right? So had a lot of fun though. The hostel, the drinks in college, tech office, a whole bunch of things, and go to theater at 10 o'clock in the night, come back in the lorry at 1 o'clock. I think a bunch of interesting movies that we went, The Deep, and a few other movies of that era, right? It was kind of fun in college. But when it comes to studies, I lagged a bit. And then third year came is when I realized that, oh my God, these guys are all applying for US. Then I had to rush for it. And then I applied. So basically, I followed the tide, right? I was not an innovator of any kind. I had no idea what I was doing. I had an idea of what I was doing, but what I was going to do in the future, I didn't have a very clear path. And then towards the end, I got ISRO. My father said, why don't you settle down in India? You have ISRO. And I said, most of my friends are going to the US, so I'm going to go there. So it's like follow the tide and fall into the North America. There used to be a saying that NJIT has a bridge to Gujarat. Similarly, I had a bridge to UMCP. So University of Maryland College Park. Actually, Anand Kumar went to, I think, campus nearby. He went to Johns Hopkins perhaps, but there are a few people in that region. One of my classmates, her name is Sundari, she settled out in the DC area, a few. And then that was in 89. So it took me a couple of years to realize that I need to push to the US. I was a TRF in college right after 86. During that period, so I'll backtrack a little bit. After 86, when I finished college, some of us who didn't do well in college, we decided we need to study something, right, before going to the next phase. So one of the guys I know, Sadiq Pasha, he went to MBA school and learned some in BIM in Trichy, and then he got into a job. He's now in Saudi Arabia, then in Australia, whatever, right? So we realized towards the end, we need to study, right? So I went into an ME program where I didn't study a lot, but I had the opportunity to teach students. I took a class in line communication, and I taught a class in microprocessor. So I would read through the damn book for hours and hours and go and prepare and go. I would read a lot about digital electronics and go and teach. So by teaching, I learned a bunch, which I was able to use in my career, right? So when I studied, I didn't study, but the next 2 years when I did my ME and my TRF, that gave me a boost. And I was the youngest TRF at that period, so people considered me like a younger brother. There were some good sisters in there was a Sumati madam, she's probably retired now. So some of them really nurtured me. They would take me for lunch. They would call me for dinner in their homes, stuff me with a lot of food, so all those things, right? So I caught up right after college for 2 years, and then I got prepared and went to the US. So University of Maryland, it was about a couple of years. I initially struggled in one class, got a D, and then I got fear. Oh my God, in 6 months, they'll send me back to India, right? So in the US, you need to pass all 9 classes. So I had a struggle. Then the same class, I took it next semester and got an A, right? I was lucky to get an A. The first professor was a tough physics-oriented VLSI design class, so it was very tough. The second guy was all simulation, and I was good in, somehow I think I was good in programming. So I was able to do all the simulation related to the CMOS and those things, and I aced the class. So anyway, moral of the story is, you work hard, you work smart, you can succeed, right? Also, you need to know what you are skilled at, right? If you try to beat something that you don't have a real funda in, you may never pass, right? So I eventually figured that out, and I was lucky enough. So, and then so that was college, graduate school. And then when I graduated in 91, I had an electronics degree combined with electrical engineering. That's what they call in the US. And then DSP, all those core communication classes were allocated to US citizens, right? So the core communications curriculum, whoever learned, those jobs are all reserved for US citizen. You don't have a US citizenship. So I had to get into software. And luckily, Mr. Bill Clinton was the president. From 92 to 2000 was the golden era of Desis, right? So everyone got H1B. And then, of course, 99 was Y2K boom. So in 3 years, got a green card, got all the liberty, bought a house, all those things, right? Those were the golden days. There was very less inflation in America at that time, right? So of course now the costs are triple now, but at that period it was really a fun ride, right? So the typical Daisy story, Honda car, Toyota Camry, all those things, right? Very simple. DC area, which means I was focused more on services. I never got any exposure to product companies, and I don't have a particular drive. I saw some people who moved to the Bay Area for specifically to run or learn product related business and things like that. So I was always in the services game. Do you want me to stop and maybe ask a question, or do you want me to run through a little bit more?
You can continue, Andy. You can continue. No problem.
So, and then in 95, I got a green card. So green card means you get some liberty, right? Do whatever you want or whatever professional you want to do. And then I decided to form a company like everyone, every Desi going to the US will start a company of that kind at that period with some entrepreneurship drive. And then I did staffing, right? I was the president of the Tamil Sangam, so I got a bunch of people and the H1B guys coming in. So basically doing staffing, which is a very low barrier to entry and fairly successful for a few years until immigration reform came and they would ask for all kinds of paperwork. You can't have multiple layers in staffing. And then some people did abuses. They brought people in hordes and put them in apartments, wouldn't pay them enough. All these things, it all got screwed up, right? So I figured this is not a good industry, and also ethically it was difficult to run it, right? You can't commit someone's salary and then say, oh, I don't have money to do it, right? So when you're a middleman, you can get screwed, right? That's what happened in the 2000, 2001 when the dot-com crash happened and many people lost their jobs, and I had to pay people without income and lost a bunch of money. But I think my ethics prevailed to some extent. And then I said, I need to pivot, right? This is not the angle I want to do. So then I started software development service. In fact, our good friend TGK Gocha was the guy who ran my first year of Softsquare in Chennai. So
Gocha.
Kuti Gocha.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow, okay.
So Kuti Gocha was very involved in college activities. He helped me. He came to me and said, why don't I build this? In 2000, he was in Washington for a few months, a few weeks. We went to 8 meetings. Mr. Bhagat, Professor Bhagat, who used to be in his 70s then, I think he's still running it. In his home, he used to have for aid, Balaji Sampath, many of you would have heard. So, and those things I was involved. I was involved in a lot of Tamil-related activity also. Not entrepreneurial, I was just growing at that time. And then I came to, Gocha helped me in 2000, 2001 time frame. Then I started this offshore business, and then would take any project that I get, right? So would take the one that Pathasarathi, that kind of projects, OS Commerce, PHP, anything that comes in the door, right? And then it was pointless, right? It was going in, not pointless, it was directionless, right? Take everything, you can't build a skill set and everything in a small business with 5 to 10 people. So I figured maybe this is not the right thing to do, right? I'm doing everything that comes my door. So then I started to look at 2 product companies, right? Someone told me, hey, you should align in a product company or in a vertical. And I didn't have any vertical experience in any particular industry except for government and telecom and a few things. So I figured, let me look at SAP and Salesforce. And then SAP was already established. So it was difficult to break in. And to do an SAP project, you need a functional guy, a technical guy, programmer, all kinds of skills. Salesforce was appearing in the horizon at that time. They were at least about 7 years old at that time in 2007. I think they were 8 years old. And then it was a configurable platform, low code. You don't have to hire all kinds of people. All you need is a good analyst and probably a programmer. So I started learning it. Then I deployed a few people, trained them, and then went to Elance. Of that time, it's Elance, now it's Upwork, and started building a practice. And then I was able to scale it to some extent. And then currently we have about 120 people. It's not a large team. Then I realized everyone talks AI. No one talks about digital transformation. Everything is gone to AI transformation. So I started pivoting into that in the last couple of years, doing chat-based integrations and voice-based CRM and things like that. So keeping pivoting, right? When you're small and agile, pivoting is easy. When you're large, it's very difficult, right? You need to move an entire team, align them along. So I have challenges, right? So every day is a learning day, right? There's no complacency. I'm not a chairman, I'm still a CEO. And I do my little for college sometimes. I go for mentoring sessions. I envy Vish's abilities to leverage his skills all over the place. I remember you went to IT&T. So those things, I don't have that much of depth of experience, but I try my best. So as Bharati said, this is what I really like. The Nidhi Migundavar Porkwe Tarir, Nidhi Kuraindavar Kasigal Tarir, Adu Matravar, Vaichol Tarir. So that's what I try to do. I want to do, so perhaps in 3 or 4 years, if I exit, I would like to do what Vish is doing, spend more time mentoring people. Now I invest in companies, but I don't spend a lot of time with them. I'm too busy with my own company. So also my family is global, so I have to travel all over the place. So that's my little story.
You can talk about your angel investment experience also.
Yeah. So in 2020, I started investing when all of us were in Clubhouse or Zoom when we were affected by COVID. So that time I got exposed to Native Angel Network, whose head is currently running Startup TN, Shivaraja Ramanathan. So I started investing in about 8 startups in the last 3 years. It's always a portfolio, right? So startup investing is one of the riskiest. I would say next to gambling, it's more speculation. It is less risky than speculation, but if you can manage your portfolio closely, then I think you'll have success. So I started investing in a company. The first one I did was SP Robotics, which is a learning platform. So, and then also due to Vish's inspiration and a few others from our college, I got to invest in quite a few small startups, in deep tech startups using through our Guindy Alumni Angel network, which is really good. Wherever I get a chance to Guindy, and I try to get them to become part of that club, because it's small money. It's anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000, or even more if you take the risk. And I had an exit in Darwin AI. Some of us others would also got. It was a 2x exit in 1 year. So
nice.
I really liked it. I mean, ideally, I wanted to get involved in these companies, hobnob with them, get to know what their things, but I don't have the time to go and meet all of them because I go to Waterloo every other month. I know Darwin AI was doing Vision AI work in using PCB or some kind of board-based, using camera, they would detect defects in a board, but they got acquired by Apple. So angel investing is not just for the money. I want to, when I have the time, go and understand what these guys do and how to pivot based on the learnings they have, their failings and their victories. So angel investing is very interesting. I'm also involved in a fund called American Tamil Fund. We're trying to rename it to most probably Tamil Ventures Fund. So it was an alliance initially with Startup T, and even now we take those pitches, but we invest in tech scalable startups. We invested in a company called Toeman, which is about 2 years back we did. Another one called Jogo Health, which helps with the urine treatment for urine incontinence. And basically, there's something called EMG, a concept called EMG biofeedback. So basically, they look at it's gamification combined with some kind of exercise. They'll put sensors in the pelvic region and make you do some exercise and gamify you with a ball moving up and down like a CRO, and then it treats that kind of disease, cerebral palsy and diseases like that, and treats in about a month's time with about 2 lakhs versus 20 lakhs for a vaginal implant and more complex surgeries and things. All right. So I invest in companies that I know or come to know through our networks, small or big, and then try to build their portfolios and contribute to the ecosystem.
Super, excellent. I think, Andy, you don't realize that a lot of people from CEG can relate to your background. Because a lot of them come from outside Chennai, number one. A lot of them, when they come to Chennai, get very overwhelmed looking at the city and how things are and seeing students from different parts of the state, etc., even from outside the state also. And out of the 36 guests I had, I think probably about 7 or 8 of them have a very similar story like yours. Coming to CEG, not knowing what is going on, adapting to it on the fly, learning first 2 years, struggling, and then realizing something has to be done. I can tell you that when people start watching the recording, there are a lot more people who are going to be able to relate to your story than some other stories, actually. And it's interesting because you can hear a lot of very successful stories from people who have always had it good and made very big. But what people need is something that they can directly relate to. That, okay, if this person's background looks very similar to mine and they're able to do it, then the motivation to get there is far more, I think, than looking at someone who's in the US or another part of the world who's doing well. Like a lot of people say, is Mark Zuckerberg very, very interesting and is it inspiring? Yes, definitely, no doubt about it. But someone living in Tanjavur or Kanyakumari, I don't see them getting inspiration from Mark Zuckerberg. They probably get inspiration from people like you or AJB or Sivaraja or someone like that who went through this grind and they can relate to them. So I think this is why I want to find people who have gone from where they are to where they are right now, going through all the grind. And this is much more helpful, I think, to people who are going to watch this. Then if you go to a fancy conference, like if you go to very big fancy startup conferences or industry conferences, you have people from all over the world coming and speaking in various big names, etc. But you can't relate to them very well. This you can relate to. So I'm happy that we are able to get people who can show the way that everybody can actually understand and follow. So that's the first thing I want to say, that it's definitely very helpful for students as well as alumni as well. Second thing I would say is that I think you are a fairly good salesperson. You have built a business out of Salesforce. You have built a business in multiple countries. I have to tell you that my entire career has been in business development. So I made a career out of talking. So after 34 years, I had to be at least half as good as what I say I am, right? So, so companies, as you said very rightly, the time when I was working professionally in the US was also in the same time, 1990 to 2002 time frame, when Democrats were ruling the country. Bill Clinton was the president, and life was really, really good. There's very safe country, very prosperous country, lots of opportunities, no big problem like immigration or anything like that. All of us were able to buy homes after the first or second year of the job. Interest rates were very low. So yes, I think I owe a lot to the administration at that time, much like you said. H1B approval came in 3 months. Green card came in less than 1 year. And in fact, in my green card interview, I actually took the green card interview in Chennai. I came from US to take the interview here because I want to make a free trip out of that. Our company used to pay for the green card interview wherever you go, whether you take it in the US or outside the US. I took the opportunity to come here. Now imagine someone taking that kind of risk now. It's not going to happen, right? So life was good. We learned a lot. We are in good time. And so we have to be grateful for that. But I had a question regarding your specific choices. You said you went to services business first.
Correct.
And you didn't look at the product business. Is it because you thought that services business is easier, or is it because that was more close to what you wanted to do?
I had no experience with product first. Also to do product, you need to put a lot of money up front, right? You need to invest money in a product idea, and then you may need angel info. I think the only person who never got any angel is Sridhar Vembu, right? Everyone gets some friends, family, and fools, what they say, right? You need to plunk a lot of money, and I didn't have any unique ideas at that time. So currently, I mean, my company has a 97 to 3% ratio, right? 97 is still services. About 3-4%, I'm trying to make product.
Even today?
Currently, even today, right? We have some products on the Salesforce App Exchange, which add value to the Salesforce ecosystem. And those products make us about 3% of our revenue. Still not big. And I heard it's very difficult to pivot a services company into a pure product play. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not very easy to convert it completely, but I can tell you that I used to run a services company, much like what you said, IT services company in the US. We were 100% services when I took over the company, and I realized that services business, it's very difficult to lose money, but it's very difficult to make a lot of money also, right? So there is no intellectual property, there is no differentiation. It's only differentiation is price and quality, and those two are not very sustainable because a big competitor can come and drop the price and take away all your business, and you can't do anything about it, right? So we actually slowly pivoted to 25% product over a period of 3 years, where we built off-the-shelf products that can be given to customers based on previous customer experience. And we also did pick a few verticals. I picked transportation vertical and retail vertical. And we built products only for transportation retail customers. And we were able to get good traction because our consultants who are doing services job over time got domain expertise, learning the business, they're being at the customer side, dealing with the problems, etc. So we were able to take it from 100% services company to a 75% services, 25% product company, and the product margins were absolutely much better than services margins. Way better than I was talking about really way better than services margins. I could afford to keep people in the bench with the product margins for periods that I couldn't afford to do in the services business.
Correct.
The services business, every hour counts, right? Every hour counts, and utilization is one of your seriously important metrics there. I went from a product business to services business. So I found it very difficult when I initially got into the services business how it worked. Because I used to work for a company that used to have $1 million in license fee and do that. So I used to tell jokingly to my secretary when I joined the services company, it feels like I'm going in an auto rickshaw, but it feels like I'm going in a plane. I can feel all the excitement. I'm not going anywhere. Right?
Yeah, okay.
So
you have your simulation.
Yeah, exactly. So that is, I would say, definitely, I think converting into product business takes time, but it's definitely worth the effort. And I think you are in an area, Salesforce, which is still very popular and still very used by a lot of people. I'm saying companies can use off-the-shelf products built out of the Salesforce platform and do that. But is Salesforce business similar to SAP or Oracle, or is it different from that?
Very similar, except that it's a SaaS environment. The deployment is much easier. They are very agile in terms of upgrade a software, right? There is no software outage issue at all. There is no gaps in there. That is why they sell. Right? Oracle is much more cumbersome. They are all playing the same game now. Oracle has everything on the cloud now. So I think they're probably equally good now. But Salesforce innovated SaaS. To my knowledge, there is no other company in SaaS before 99. Right? They were innovated right in 99. There was no on-premise model except for the Department of Defense. The US Department of Defense is the only one that has on-premise Salesforce, to the best of my knowledge. And
all other customers are on the
all
cloud.
On the cloud. They do not put anything on-premise. And last 3 years back, they pivoted towards Amazon. So wherever Amazon is, Salesforce can be deployed. So they call it Hyperforce. It's deployed on Amazon stack, which means they don't have to worry about GDPR and all those, right? That's Amazon's problem.
Okay. So they have to piggyback on Amazon's platform to do that. Okay.
Correct.
Now, what can Salesforce do that Amazon or Oracle or SAP cannot do?
Okay. First of all, it's low code, which means you get a configurable platform. So, for example, I think Zoho and Salesforce are similar in terms of features because they're all copy from each other. A fresh desk, all this, right? So, let's say you are running America division of a company called X. I run the Indian division. You want to see my opportunities. I can see your opportunities, but we can't edit the products underneath the opportunity, or we can't edit the opportunity, for example. Okay. If you were to do this in Java, .NET, if you ask Partha to do that, he's going to code some part of it, right? You have to say if statement something, profile equals, blah, blah. Then, I mean, within a profile, you may have 100 users, but you have to write code. In Salesforce, you go and configure a kind of concept called role-based hierarchy. You go configure a screen, you're done. Right. So in SaaS environments, with clicks, you can do a lot of things accomplished. And those are the guys who came doing that first. While Amazon and AWS, Oracle Cloud and Microsoft Azure and GCP, these are all you can deploy your code in the platform. You can configure the system side, but not the application side. Right? You can configure how many CPU I want, what kind of platform, what OS, all those things you can do. But then you have to put a stack on it, right? If you have to put your application stack on it, you have to code to some extent. In Salesforce, it's a SaaS environment, which means you can go do a lot of click work. Like one of the examples is what I said. So you can accomplish a lot using a business analyst versus a programmer. So you don't have to depend on a programmer to configure your platform. Of course, to do more complex things, you need to go and hire a programmer to do it. So that is
so you can do what we can do in SAP in Salesforce to a large extent?
You can.
Accounting, not accounting, but the rest of the...
Even manufacturing, Salesforce doesn't have vertical solutions built in, right? They have a health cloud, they have a financial service cloud, but not as strong as SAP. SAP has a platform which is not very configurable. It may be configurable today. I don't know SAP as it stands today, but they are more of a vertical oriented solution. Right? ERP for specific verticals, oil and gas, all those things they have. Salesforce doesn't have any of that. Salesforce is a configurable platform. The app exchange is one thing they innovated. I think Salesforce was the first one which came with the marketplace for SaaS companies. And in that, companies like us partners, there are 2,000 partners. And each one of us has some apps there, right? So those apps can do the gap filling. So the marketplace is what they encourage for others to go and build, put their R&D money, while Salesforce builds a platform and has a few clouds. They have a Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing, MuleSoft, the Tableau, CRM, Analytics, all those things we have. But vertical alignment, they let partners build whatever they want and put it on the platform. So Salesforce is not vertically strong as SAP is. It's more ERP and manufacturing and internal process, while Salesforce is CRM, which is marketing, sales, and customer service. There's a big gap in operations, which is either filled with App Exchange partners or by SAP and Oracle, and you integrate with that.
So there's an opportunity to build businesses on Salesforce that are still available.
Yes, within the marketplace. You can build an Oracle Financials equivalent, which is already there. There's something called Financial Force. There is something called, there are a few other, if you go search financials in App Exchange, you'll see at least 10 providers doing that.
So for people who are looking at having a startup idea, you think that there is still opportunity for them to build a reasonably good business by taking one of the unsolved areas in Salesforce and do that, like operations, for example?
Yes, and Salesforce Ventures invests in these companies. They do invest in startups who encourage their operating system. They will take a stake and then they will keep supporting you. That's another thing. So not operating system, operating platform. So yeah, there is definitely gaps that can be filled.
So that's an opportunity for people to think about.
Yes, absolutely. Because CRM is ruled by Salesforce, ERP is ruled by SAP. So companies that go to Salesforce and probably are not happy about SAP will want to buy a third-party solution of Salesforce. But everything is one platform, right? It's more configurable, more pliable platform. So I'm sure there will be scope for companies. Not the enterprise, maybe the mid-market companies. Because enterprise blindly will take SAP for ERP and CRM they'll take Salesforce. But the mid-market companies, I think, will tend to dabble and experiment with providers who are in the App Exchange.
Super. So let's go to the line and see what questions are there. There are 4 questions are there already. First one, I see, how did you decide to go with services instead of product? I think you already answered that question. What do you look for in the startups that you invest as an angel?
Okay. The startup should have made some revenue. May not be profitable, but they should have had some validation of what they have done. Equally important is the founder, their fire. If there is it's a husband and wife, maybe not, because what happens at home could reflect in the company. If they're brothers and like 5 of them running a company, we don't know, right? Because they could be with too much controlling of the place. Not too many partners, but limited partners, not family, and their drive and their ability to scale and their leadership, right? So if they lack any of these skills, maybe not the best investment. Sometimes we can't assess all these, right? So we may not know enough of them. In many cases, I'm an angel. I'm not a big venture capitalist, right? So I don't put large money. So it goes by gut, right? To give you an example, there was one company which came in Native Angel Network. Suresh Sambandam brought that company as a lead investor, and immediately a crore got done, right? So when a celebrity like, say, Vembu or Suresh Sambandam or C.K. Kumaravail or our own Vish Viswanathan bring it, we think, wow, Vish is a rich guy. He's investing a lot of money. So I think that doesn't work in angel investing because I don't know what Vish has in the bank, right? So he may have a lot of money and he may have even passion to put 100% of the money in angels, right? He may be retired, he may not care. His children are well off, whatever, right? So sometimes I've done such decisions also, but increasingly as days go. Also, I invest in companies which are challenging and different. They may fail, but I'll learn something from them. I have some motivation to lose the money also for gaining something in pleasure, right? It may not be money at all, but I like, oh, this guy is doing something really unique. Why don't we support him? Kind of thing, right? Social impact, some extent, right? Social impact ventures are good for society, but I would rather say they get funded by CSR, right? So not all social impact ventures need to be invested by us and expect an ROI. So anything I invest in or even donate in or give money to someone, I don't feel bad if they don't pay me, right? It doesn't come to my heart, right? If they lose or if they don't give me the money, I just forget about it, right? And I don't put enough to be hurt and then cry over it, right? So none of these should bring me to the street. That's all. Otherwise, if the money gets blown, I don't care. That is my philosophy. But I think more important is a leader and his idea and some kind of validation that this startup will do decent, right? So I've seen people's portfolios or investor portfolios. If you invest in 10 or 20, one outlier is enough to compensate. All the rest 19 can bite the dust. That's okay. The intent is not to have them bite the dust. Maybe a couple, right? So at least 15 of them are okay. They give a 2x or 5x return in 15 years. That's okay. But if one outlier we are able to intelligently find, that is what I would consider as good investor, which I think is the case with all the firms in this world. All these firms, even if it's Vinod Khosla, they would definitely have had failures, but one or two outliers which would have shot them through the roof. This is my lesson.
I can tell you, so I've been doing angel investment for now 15 years now, since 2009. Across 33, 34 companies I invested so far in India and the US combined. I did a calculation of what I call XIRR. It's the internal rate of return with multiple investments in multiple time frames, right? So it's not like all of them at the same time. My XIRR came to 26%. So in other words, I'm able to get a 26% rate of return on my investment. I find that much higher than anything I can do. Mutual fund doesn't give 26% every year. Talking about over a 15-year period, very 26% IRR. So yeah, that isn't not going to make me Mukesh Ambani tomorrow, but definitely provides me enough money to learn more and get something out of it. Many of them died. I mean, out of the 33 I invested, I think about 10 of them are no more actually. They're completely dead and gone. As you said, I got about 20x in one of them, and I got about 15x in another one. Those two made up for a lot of the losses immediately. And also the question is how much you invest. The one I got the most return, I also invested a higher amount. So the return I got from that was enough to underwrite almost all the failures I had. So now most of the investments are doing okay. Now I'm hopeful that all of them will give me at least 5 to 6x at the very minimum over the next 2 or 3 years. So my experience has been largely positive. Now, of course, the 10 who died, I didn't know what kind of company that was and invested in the early stages without knowing. And now I learned what I shouldn't do there. So I think there's hope, definitely very much hope for making money out of that. But more importantly, you get to meet with people who have a great ideas. You learn from them about technology. You stay very relevant what you have there. So I think people who can afford to keep a portion of their portfolio, I would say that maybe about 5% of your net worth is a decent amount of money to put out there and experiment. If you have $1 million, then it's $50,000. If you have $10 million, it is much higher, obviously. If it's only $100,000, at least put 5,000 and try out a few things and see what happens. You'll always get something back from there.
Right.
Okay, great. So next question in the line I see is that what is your opinion about AI and how it affects what we do in our career? Interesting.
Okay. I think AI is disruptive, similar to the 99, 2000 when we had the internet and then cloud and a few other technologies. But I think AI is very, very disruptive. At least I see content creation going to AI, make it more efficient. There will be more demand for companies who write case studies. If you look at the emails going out of our staff in our own company, which I think applies to any IT company, most of the people use ChatGPT for generation of email.
Oh, wow. Wow.
The gap in knowledge of English is diminished completely, right? I can even see the difference. So one person sends email twice. Wow, it's so beautiful. Next day he forgot to do it. So I mean, it
really works. You're saying email writing really works.
Yes, very much. I've seen it in person. I don't use it much, but I've seen people who have gaps in English communication. I'm sure it will come to all our languages, but so that is humongous. I mean, content creation, I think, is very disruptive, right? People who, let's say you have someone spend 8 hours to do a content, I think it will be done in 1 hour. And I've heard that companies are able to do things like you give an RFP, it'll generate the requirements document, and it will make it dump code for us. So some companies which are doing unbelievable things. So it is a huge disruption. I think code. I mean, what is that thing called? GitHub Copilot. Microsoft Copilot, so many copilots, right? They generate code. So people who spend, let's say, 20 hours to do, a trigger would probably can do that in 2 hours. So I think I am fearful of being running a services company. I'm fearful of clients coming to me in another 6 months say, why is a timesheet showing 20 hours for this damn thing? We have to do it in 2 hours. So I'm fearful of that, right? And services, that's a thing. So I think it's hugely disruptive for the IT industry. I think the more people are, so if you're a student, if you gravitate towards client-facing activity, your your success is higher. If you're staying in the back office and however intelligent you are, your design skills will help, but code delivery, I think, is going to be gone soon, right? At least the first template will generate for you. You can quickly deliver your code. So if you're a programmer and if you're looking for that career, move towards the customer. So the more customer facing you are, I think that is where our we can shine, or leverage AI, right? So the more, so I had two interns or two people who joined us last month, and those people know so much about prompt engineering than any of the staff that we have. Those guys in college, they learn all these things, and they said, "Sir, in the course, the 5 hour course, you'll learn it." Right? So that's unbelievable. So I think in college we should have programs to teach prompt engineering more than programming. So maybe last semester in the mentoring program, we should probably do
I think so.
Engineering program in at least for computer science and people who go to IT.
No, I think so. I think there's a lot of things that we can do. It doesn't have to change the entire syllabus from scratch. At least add a few things that could be very useful. I think people like you and who run companies, definitely we can put together something that as a recommendation to say, we're not asking, see what happens in the college, they become very, very nervous when you go and tell them change everything. So at least we can tell them, to do your usual course, what you do, but maybe one subject in the last semester or two subjects in the last year, could be more on latest, like prompt engineering is a good example, right? Or maybe writing some LLM type stuff or something like that. You have to give them something to use immediately when they go to job. Because when people come out of 4-year degree, they are generally not very useful, unfortunately. You have to train them from scratch and everything that you're using today. They're learning something from 20 years ago, right?
Elective, we can do an elective. We can do an elective for LLM and those things, and experts can come and teach it.
Yeah.
We don't need if they allow it.
Yeah, that's a question. They'd allow us. One more question in the line. Are you open to mentoring?
Yes. I mean, I have limited time, but I can definitely do mentoring. Yes.
I don't know who asked the question. Whoever asked the question, can you expand what mentoring you're looking for? I'm not sure who asked the question. Okay. What kind of mentoring are you looking for, Partha?
Yeah, okay. So we connect well.
See, I told you. There are going to be people who are going to be able to relate to you much better because they can see themselves in you when you're young, basically. Right? That is important, don't you think so? Because unless people can relate to what you were when you're young and see you grow, the level of confidence won't be as much versus seeing someone who has gone through that. So at least they know you will understand their problem, what they went through, right?
But
Partha is a very resourceful guy. You'll find him very resourceful. Almost all the IT work that I have doing for any of my social service or my CG Connect or anything, Partha does it for me. And he does an amazing job.
Yeah, I've seen him. Last 3 years, I've been to your programs. And he's there in every one of the calls and he organizes for you.
Yeah, very quick. The whole portal CG Connect was built by him. The Guindy Alumni Angels Connect for India is built by him. Also, other things that I give it to him to build for other businesses I run also. That's a terrific job. And AJB is his boss, and AJB likes all the work he does. He doesn't want to lose him, right? Even if he gets a job outside, AJB wants to hold on to him and match his salary. That much how is he doing there? So we want to develop people like that who have the skill, obviously. Now, as he said, having RES is the criteria we use in CUIC, and you can actually see that there are people who have not had RES not doing as well as he is doing today, for example.
That's a great example, Thambi. You should be in this panel.
So that's interesting. So, yeah, other questions from the people in the audience? If you want to ask any question to Andy, Kumaraguru or Satyapriya, if you want to ask any question?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, I was outdoors, so I couldn't
Sure,
type down
sure.
earlier. So one thing I really want to ask is like, I moved. I also moved to US. I moved almost 7 years back. But when I talked to my own VP, he said as well, like Indian who moved, he said like you should go back to India. But that's not practical. That's not practical, and that's not something I can do on a flip of coin. But I just really want to be also connected, right? So, what are the ways we can do something like how you have done with Native Angels or like Guindy Angels? What else we can do closer to college or in Tamil Nadu? Because that's where our roots are. So, do you have any suggestions or sort of waypoints I can think about exploring?
You're talking about charitable or invest? You want a return on investment or you want to give? Return on investment or return on investment in value? What is what you're looking for?
I'm looking angel investing and also probably starting. So deciding between these two. Yeah.
Do you hear me? I think there was a lot of bunch of noise there. But anyway, so angel investing in India, of course, there is Thai Angels, Chennai Angels. I know Vishnu knows those people. Native Angels is there. In terms of returns in India, I think you have to be a little bit mellow, right? You should not expect a 5x return on any non-deep tech, social impact startups, right? Or even non-social impact. I have not seen any high returns in India so far. I'm only about 3-4 years old child now. Wish has seen more. But in terms of if you want return and invest in Desi startups, it may be Tamil, it may be not, it may be any Desi startup from any part of the world. I think Guindy Alumni Angel is way better, right? Because it comes with the quality of the startups. They may fail, but the problems they are solving are more advanced, right? Of course, in India also there are, right? I just haven't seen them, right? It's just at me, right? There is Mumbai Angels. There are so many angels all over the place. There is Marwari Catalyst that I am peripherally involved, or at least trying to be involved in. So there are people like Shankar Ram who are in that space a lot more than any of us here. So if you want to invest particularly in India alone, then I think any of the angel networks in India will help, and I think Vish can say more about it. But if you're looking at value, I think India investing is good, and Native Angel is really good. But in terms of you want big money in that, I don't think it is there in the Indian startups that I have seen. I'm sure there are deep tech startups which are high risk, high return, right? Whenever you put your money in high return investment, you are going to take high risk. And I said our friend made 28%. That is, I think, typical of anything. But the best value is you're creating value, you're creating jobs, you are getting some pleasure out of it than investing in Mahindra and Mahindra Reliance, right? Reliance is already rich. What are you going to make? You make more, or not substantial, but it's huge. But here, if a company is worth 10 million and you put even 10,000, it is at least a small percentage, not minuscule, right? So definitely that's what. But I think I would like to have Vish answer that question more from an Indian
I think we have a good one example to tell you is Native Angels. Through Native Angels, I invested in a company called Native Special.
Correct. I did too.
Native Special is a very simple business, right? They realized that there is Indian diaspora all over the world who are always longing for the food that they used to eat in India, particularly the snacks, etc., like that, right? So these guys came up with an idea where they source all the snacks that are popular in each part of Tamil Nadu. Initially, now they're doing it all over India in Tamil Nadu. So they said, okay, if I want to eat Palgova, Srivilliputturu is the best place for Palgova. If I want to eat Murukku, then Manapara is the best place for Murukku. So what they did is they aggregated from the people who make in those locations. So the real authentic thing, they aggregate, they take the inventory and then they ship it and sell it all over the world. I invested in the company. They're doing very, very well now. This is not a very fancy business. This is not a deep tech business. They're using a lot of technology in the business to make it very efficient.
E-commerce.
But they're doing very, very well, and they're growing very well, and the demand is just increasing. So, one example of where you could make a difference for a company, and these guys came from some small
Karur.
town in Karur, and small
Karur.
town, and they learned the business along the way. They got a lot of help from mentoring from Shivaraja, etc. All that. This is only one example, right? I've seen such examples with Guindy Angels, seen examples with Chennai Angels, etc. Companies doing well. One of the Chennai Angels company that I exited became a unicorn. These guys, when they came to us, they were both 23-year-old IIT graduates. They want to.
Unicorn.
No, not that. This is a company called. This is the company who was doing Purple.com. They were doing surround merchandising. 23-year-old IIT Kharagpur guys came and pitched an idea. We liked the idea. We gave them money. We invested them when their value was 13 crores invested. Today they are at 8,000 crore company.
Wow.
Right. So unfortunately, I exited before they hit unicorn. I exited well before that, but still I got a humongous return out of that. For my money that I put in, I got more than 25x return out of the company in a matter of 4 years. So there are good assets to buy into. Again, as I said, that out of 20 you invest, maybe 1 or 2 might pan out. Out of them may not pan out. That's the nature of the business. But I think learnings are huge in that. And I can tell you today, compared to what it was 10 years ago, there are a lot more companies I see in India which could be actually equal, or I would say better than companies in the Bay Area. In the area of AI, deep tech, in analytics, and areas like that, we have far more innovative companies. If you look at IIT Incubation Cell, if you look at CIIC, there are companies. I went to CIIC, the Crescent Incubation Cell, about a couple of weeks ago to do a seminar there. They have 130 startups incubated there, and some of them are rock stars, nothing short of rock stars, right? These guys will definitely make it big. They're getting venture funding before angel funding. That's how good they are.
IT&T?
No, in CIIC, Crescent Incubation Cell.
Oh, Crescent.
This is also run by college incubation thing in Vandalur. So there are very good startups here, and our system, our ecosystem has definitely matured a lot more than what I could imagine 10 years ago. There are opportunities to invest and make money. My view is very simple. I'm going to reduce my investments in the US and increase my investments in India. I see an opportunity here, and so almost all the new angel investments I'm doing. The last one I did was Namayatri, for example. Namayatri is a company run by CGNs actually. They are just pay employees, and so I invested in that through Guindy Angels. They're doing very well. They came to Chennai. They're doing rocking now. Actually, they're doing quite well, and they are part of ONDC now, and their business is growing. So yeah, there are examples like that we can look at and do that. So I completely My Harvest is another example, correct? Yeah, another good example. All of them are doing
quick follow up on that. Like, is there a similar check size for all of this, or it varies also? Like 34 when you're doing these,
Initially, the check sizes were much lower. See, initially I invested through Chennai Angels. Chennai Angels had a policy at that time that the minimum check size is $5,000. Sorry, 5 lakh rupees, not 5,000. 5 lakh rupees was the minimum check size in 2009 onwards. They increased the minimum check size to higher. So $5,000 even today is about 5 lakh rupees even today is about $6,000. So it is still a bigger amount than what Guindy Angels charges even today, for example, for the minimum check size. My investments in the last 2-3 years have been much higher than that because I'm able to take the money I got from the return and invest more, and so the returns also hopefully will be more. So if I look at Learning Matters or Namayatri, my investment was much more than most people, for example. So it's not check size, not even. It was smaller in the beginning. It's definitely much bigger now. Now I'm thinking now that instead of making it much bigger, I want to expand and put into multiple different kinds of verticals. Inside deep tech, there are multiple verticals. Robotics and computer vision area is another one. The latest one I'm looking at is life sciences. Excellent opportunities in life sciences. The intersection of computer science, biology, and chemistry. Lots of activities, drug discovery, lots of things coming out in that area. Protein folding, which is a new area. They're trying to create proteins for improving yield of agriculture, finding out new molecules for human health, etc. These are all trillion-dollar opportunities, and only very, very few people are actually working on it right now. Google's Alpha is one of the AlphaFold is one of the that drives to hold that. I'm actually going to the biosciences seminar in New Delhi, run by the Indian government. They asked me to come and speak about my investment ideas in the biospace, actually. And 6,000 people are coming for the conference from all over the world. And this is in Delhi in Pragati Maidan in September. So they are giving me invitation to come and speak there. So I'm very excited about going and seeing people. A lot of US companies are coming. DuPont, Pioneer, AstraZeneca. They're all sending people for this conference. So this is happening in India. And so India is able to attract a global audience of biosciences at a time when the industry is exploding, right? So yeah, lots of opportunities, I'll tell you, investing in India.
Check size is 1 lakh in Kumara Guru. It's 1 lakh in Native Angel Network. It may be less in some deals, but that's typical. In our Guindy Alumni Angel, it's about 1,000 to 10,000, right? That's a range that
$3,000, $2,500 is the minimum.
Minimum? Okay.
We made it. We are trying to make it 4,000 now. We haven't been successful yet doing that.
So in that sense, like, is the return usually coming from the initial investment, or is there a follow-up that you do along with the next rounds, and that's what gives the most returns?
So Guindy Angels' policy is little more towards follow-on investments. We invest in the same company more than one round, and it works very well for us because we know the company very well, what they're doing, we want to support them, etc. Not all angel investors do that way. I like the idea of staying with the companies that I know very well, who are doing well, and put more money into them. That's what I find interesting, because you don't have to do another diligence account. We know the company, what they're doing, what their strengths and weaknesses are. So My Harvest, for example, we invested in the first round. We have already made a commitment that when they meet certain performance metrics, we'll invest again. And I'm monitoring them as a board advisor. I'm monitoring them closely, and they're definitely performing better than what they were before. And when they hit the thresholds, we'll invest again. So yeah, there is opportunity in reinvesting in the same company to get more out of that.
Did we set up for India? Because I know you were working on contributing from Indian rupees, right? In Guindy Alumni Angel.
We have a Guindy Alumni Angels India chapter now. We haven't fully operationalized it for various regulatory reasons now, but we are enabling people to invest through that. Even in the last investment in My Harvest, for example, we had people investing in rupees through Guindy Alumni Angels India, along with the people in the US.
Okay. Also, angel tax is gone, right? That explain the
angel, as of this budget, angel tax is completely gone, so you don't have to worry about paying tax on your investments. The startups don't have to pay tax on your investments, at least. Okay. It is a pretty, honestly, a dumb idea to start with. I understand why the government brought it in the first place for a different purpose. It really didn't very much help the startup ecosystem. It helped plug some other hole in money laundering, but it really killed the startup ecosystem. It's one of those things where you do one good and you get one bad. So hopefully it's gone now. We can invest more without any problem. Satyapriya, you had a question? You want to ask a question, Satyapriya?
Yeah. Hi, Vision, Andy, and others. Thank you so much for the session. I don't have questions, but I just wanted to spread the word about the Global Alumni Meet, which is likely to happen in January 4th. Actually, yes. I'm a part of the volunteering committee.
Very nice. So, very nice.
We are planning for alumni highlights, through Guindy Times, through social media, and also through a proper PR agency also, in other mass medias also, like very newspaper or even television for that matter. So I wanted to, get your permission to use all the CEG Connect, the interactions that you had, so that
100%,
we can.
100%. I know AJB spoke to me yesterday. You had a volunteer meeting, right? I couldn't join the meeting yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
I had to go to a wedding yesterday. I couldn't join yesterday meeting, but he told me about the meeting. This is the first meeting, is it? Yesterday is one of the first ones?
Yesterday was second.
Second one, okay. He did tell me about that. I know it's planned to be sometime in January, and we want to do it bigger than the previous three. Having done the previous three, I'm saying that CGAM is one of the better things that can happen in terms of networking also. So I'm happy you are volunteering, Satyapriya. We need a lot of people, alumni, to volunteer. You have marketing expertise, so obviously your expertise and skill will be very useful. I plan to be part of the volunteering team as well. I just haven't had the time to go to the meeting at this point. But I promise AJB I will definitely be there as a volunteer to support CGAM also.
Okay. Sure, definitely. That's why I came and I just jumped in here to spread the word.
Absolutely. I think we had talked about 35 other people from CG before, Satyapriya. If anyone of them can help you, they'll be more than happy to extend support. They all have promised that they'll do what is required for us to help CG. So if you have any particular person in the list, I'm happy to connect you to them, no problem.
Yeah, if you can share us the data of the last 36, whoever has been part of the CG Connect, and the details of them, we can throw them in alumni spotlights.
Absolutely, no problem. I can send you the bio of all the 36 people we have. No problem.
Sure. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure,
Website
sure,
has each session we have created an event information. There we share the speaker's bio as well as the LinkedIn profile. And we
Okay.
have the session recording also. So you can have the bio, the session recording, as well as the LinkedIn profile. If you need more information, I'll be happy to connect to them to get more
Sure,
information.
sure. Thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions, guys? It's already we are 10 minutes over time. So Andy, thank you so much for joining. I think it was,
Okay.
as I said, that one of the few sessions where you can actually completely relate to the entire session. So thank you so much for doing that. I think you got a good fan in Partha already who can relate to you 100%.
Yeah.
So maybe Partha, you can get help from Andy in getting some guidance in terms of what you should do and how you can bring your business to a higher level. This is exactly the
I mean,
purpose. You know?
I would just shout out. I don't have any. I mean, I also see same thing. No, வேலந்து வந்து எல்லாமே பண்ணும்போது same story happened. It actually repeats. That's what I'm seeing now. Like batch after batch, it is repeating.
Yeah.
So it is very interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you live, Kumaraguru?
I'm in Bay Area, San Francisco, but நான் இது பண்ணதெல்லாம் பழனி பக்கத்துல உடுமலைப்பேட்டையில. So first time I came to Chennai was the first time, and
I'll be there for Dreamforce. I always come to Dreamforce. September.
Yeah. I've been following few of you all, so it's been very inspirational. I know what you're doing and how you're all connected. That is the itch also, right? Like I see, like everybody is close to like what is happening in the state, and how can I take advantage of it, or how can I use this? Is what my always going through. Like, hey, can I do something with this network and people, and how can I utilize it? So that's like always the question I have.
Yeah. So I think Andy, people might want to get your contact. Yes, so I put the contact information. Is it okay to share that?
Yeah, please. I also put it on the chat.
Okay, so we'll because if people want to reach you, they can reach out to you. A lot of my guests want to connect through LinkedIn, so your LinkedIn profile is also available to people to connect. Okay. So if you have anyone connecting to you, you can consider connecting with them and helping them also. Otherwise, thank you for your time. I know that you just traveling the last several weeks and came back to India. I know you want to probably catch up with things in India, but thanks for joining today and giving this session. The session recording will be up in the YouTube channel probably by sometime later this week. So you can watch it and you can forward it to your friends if you like as well. Not a problem.
Okay, absolutely.
Unless there are other questions, guys, we will close the session. Again, thank you, Andy. And if you have any feedback for us about what we can do in the session, you're more than welcome to write to us also. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Partha. Thanks, Kumaraguru. Thanks, Satyapriya and Gurupreet. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.